that may impact their community. And with that, our Northwestern Oklahoma State University Enid Site Club had the idea to reach out and learn more and provide an opportunity for our community to learn more about the Marshall Islands and their people. And so I had a really good opportunity a few months ago to hear Terry Mote speak at the Child Abuse Response Team here in Garfield County, and it was a very well-presented information, and it was really enlightening for me because I learned a lot that I didn't previously know. And so my name is Taylor Randolph, and I'm a psychology instructor here at Northwestern Oklahoma State University. We'd like to welcome you to our campus. Thank you again for taking time to be with us today. If you need a restroom, you'll find those down the hallway and to the left. You'll find a men's and women's restroom. Also, you'll notice that we do have snacks provided, so feel free, make yourself at home. Feel welcome to grab a bite to eat while you watch. Also, for the professionals in the room, I'm privileged to offer continuing education credits, and so those will be available at the door as you leave today. That being said, I would like to take the time to introduce, and also I'd like to thank the Northwestern Psychology Club for the hors d'oeuvres and the hospitality in putting this together. Thank you. That being said, I'd like to introduce our speaker today. Our speaker today is the Public Information Officer at the Garfield County Health Department. He moved to the U.S. in 2007 and is the founder and chairperson of the Garfield County Micronesian Coalition. I'd like to offer a warm welcome to Terry Mote.
I feel like it's really cold in here. Thank you, Taylor, for the great introduction. My English is not as good as it's supposed to be, but I will try my best. English is my second language, and Marshallese is my first. And I barely speak Japanese a little. And I learned so much from my mom, who spoke Japanese real well than English. I hope that what I will talk about today will be something that you will learn and understand more about the Marshallese here in Oklahoma. And the way I did and combined the presentation is I kind of like not talk only about the Marshallese in Enid, but also the whole state of Oklahoma. But then my main focus will be the Marshallese here in Enid. As Taylor mentioned, I moved to Oklahoma in 2007, and when I first got here, my English was really bad. But I was so lucky that my first job was to work at the library, and I was a library specialist. And my supervisor was so kind to me that she was able to let me read books on my breaks. So every time I flip on pages and I don't understand, I write it down on a little piece of paper, and she allowed me to talk to patrons and ask them what those are and how would I put them in sentence and use them. So most of my English was self-taught, and I went and attend English class as a second language with Mona Lone at the Emmanuel Church. So until today, I'm still learning. There are times that people think I'm crazy because I talk to myself. But I love to do it. My main topic will be Marshallese history and identity. A little quote is, I believe that our account of the history of the Marshall Islands is a solid beginning that will give our younger generation a firm grasp on their history and how it will affect their lives as Marshallese. As a Marshallese, what I'm trying to do also is trying to educate those that are from the high school ages down to the elementary, because I've seen that even those that are from the highlands, they're starting to forget their history and ID. So that is one thing that the reason why I am doing this with the community. My presentation I will try to cover these. The prehistory, explorers, missionaries, the rise of German, Japanese, and World War II in the Pacific and in the Marshall Islands, nuclear bomb testing, TTPI, or Trash Territory of the Pacific Island, self-governing when we started to became an independent nation, and then the implication and impact of the Compact of Free Association, and then Marshallese community in Oklahoma. And one thing that I left from there that I didn't put on the list was the effect and challenges that we're facing today here in Oklahoma and then also back home. So if you have any questions, you can write it down or you can stop me and then I'll try to answer it. Talk about the prehistory. We used to have these tools, and this is our original dress. And the one on the right is the navigational stick chart. So we have more than 23 islands and atolls, and each island and atolls, they're scattered everywhere. And for you to go from island to island, you have to hop on a canoe or sailing boat to go in. Sometimes it take nights, overnight, and then this is one of the tools that they use to travel from island to island. We usually have 3 types of stick chart, and this one is the one that usually used during the nighttime. It's shaped like a star also. Also, it shows the current names. So there is a prophet saying that if you go on a canoe and you feel like you're lost or something, look to your back, because when you look at the current behind your canoe, you know what direction you're heading. Don't ask me how, but I learned that. So the guy on the screen is one of our high chief, and we will talk about the classes of the Marshallese, the social structures, and how they classify of which clan you're from and what family you're from. Marshall Island is the RMI, the Republic of the Marshall Island. We're close to Hawaii, 4 hours when you go on a plane, and also 4 hours when you go to Fiji Island. But then more than, I think, 8 hours to fly to Guam. So we're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and the number of people right now this is only one of the atoll, not cover the whole islands. But the islands that live on Majuro, that's where I'm from, and that's the capital state. It's almost 30,000 people, and the number might go down, I think, because many are coming to U.S. So we have a flag, and there's the significance of the flag, and let me talk a little bit about the flag. The heroes, the big point that represent the fourth city, capital city. And the small one are the highlands. And the blue color represent the Pacific Ocean. And the orange is the sunrise and sunset. Also it stands for brave and Christianity. And there's like a cross also when you look at the longer point with the arrows. That's also symbolized this, that we are the nation of Christianity. So many of us that you will see around Enid or elsewhere, most of them go to church. Probably all of you that are not, but almost all of them. A little study that when I used to work for the museum, I worked for the museum back home almost 11 years. So part of the things that we do is to hire anthropologists and archaeologists to, dig bones and study about bones. And one of the things that we study is the study of the archaeologists. So one thing that you need to understand is that in the Pacific Island, there's 3 groups of people. There's Polynesian, there's Melanesian, and there is Micronesian. When I talk about Polynesian, you'll talk about the heron, the big one, the one looked like a hen heron, the big one, and those are Cook Island, Samoa, Hawaii, Tahiti. They are grouped as a Polynesian. And Melanesian are Vanuatu, Fiji, Wallis and Futuna, Tuvalu, Solomon Island, Solomon Island, New Guinea. And Micronesian is where we're grouped at. And we are, and in Enid, that's one thing that you also need to understand, that we're not only Micronesian in Enid. There is Marshallese, there is Chukis, there is Quashirhine, there is Kilbertese, and there is Pohnpeian. We almost look the same, but we speak different language with different culture. So when you talk to them or meet them, make sure you speak Marshallese to our Marshallese, or ask them what nationality they're from. Okay.
Can you repeat all those nationalities again?
Can you repeat the nationalities, the 5 different?
Oh, there is Marshallese, Chukis, Pohnpeian, Quashirhine, and Kilbertese. And they're here in Enid.
And don't ask them if they're Marshallese if you don't know.
Good comment, Janet.
I've made that mistake several times.
So they speak different language with different culture, but we almost look the same. And we group with the Micronesian. We're short, probably that's why they call it Micronesian. I didn't say that, right? And the early explorer used these names to describe what state you're from or what country you're from. One thing I learned about the census is that they don't classify us as Marshallese or Micronesian. So that's one thing that is kind of confused when you try to find out how many Marshallese or Micronesian are in Oklahoma, because as a Pacific Islanders. And as a Pacific Islanders, it can be Hawaiian, it can be Samoan, and then that's the thing that we're trying to work with the census, if they can correct it. So. Understanding history and the past requires examining many versions of past and piecing together. And these are some of the things that back home, we work on it, trying to, preserve the culture and write books. I wrote a few books, not me as an author, but as a kind of like proofreading and correct the spelling. And so we did that back home when I was working with the museum. But there's a project that I work with, and then I wrote it as an author, is to study the clanship, the clanship in the Marshall Islands. And I have that, the copy with me. I didn't bring it today, but I have it with me. So. Marshallese history is an oral history. Reason is because from the beginning, when we started to understand about our culture, we never write things on any books. But then one of the slides will talk about when we started to put things in writing. So every time you talk with your little one, especially the older, like mommy and daddy, ours, they always, we call it yinam in our language, but that's mean you talk that story before bed. So that's how they hear the history, but we don't give it in a writing. So that's maybe another reason why so many are not understanding about the basic of our culture. So, yeah, like I said earlier. Earliest Marshallese communities is original settlers of the Pacific came from Malay or Southeast Asia. And this is predicted by some scientists that they try to figure out where Marshallese came from. And there were two hypotheses, if I say it right. One is from the Southeast Asia, or one is from North America. So we might be a U.S. citizen also. So for them to prove that, they have to dig more into our graves and ground. So Southeast Asia, they found the sweet potato. And then in North America, they found Latino pottery, if I say it right. Like the pots or the metal thing that you cook many, many years ago. They also found them back in the island. They did not know how they got there. So these are some of the hypotheses that they try to talk about where we came from. We have sailors that are still alive, and they're really good in sailing from island to island. This is a prediction, like probably this much year, Fiji, Samoa, and then Marshall Island and FSM. FSM stands for Federated State of Micronesia. And those group are Chukis. Am I confusing you guys? Chukis, Pohnpeian, Kosraean, Yapis, and I think those are the four that group under the Federated State of Micronesia. And Yapis, we don't have any Yapis here. So. Over 1,000 years, their descendants gradually spread from west to east, seeking new islands and homes. And settlement started, and then they started to establish culture, language, customs, and then survive among themselves. About the languages, there's two language families. One is Austronesian, and the other one is Papua. And when we break it down, it says that we might, as Micronesian, we're from the Austronesian category. And also the people from Fiji and Polynesian also, which they have 22 known languages. And Micronesian contains 16. And I am talking about Marshallese and all those. and we have 16 languages. These are other group that speak different Melanesian. There's the language. It's called the I forgot. But then people from Fiji can communicate with people from Vanuatu and Solomon Island. They use that language. For example, when they say, "Have you eaten?" they will say, "Infela kakai fidis." So kind of like mixed English and their language. So that's how they communicate. Like us, when I have to speak with the Chukis, I have to speak English to them so they can understand me. Knowing how closely related the languages of the Pacific Island are in one way of learning how closely related the people are. Pohnpeian, these are the group of people I mentioned earlier. Chukis, Kusarayan, and Marshallese. And there are languages that, like name of the food that we also say it in our Marshallese, and Chukis also say it in their language, and also Pohnpeian. Marshallese spoken today is different than that spoken by older people, and it is still Marshallese. We call it Kajinmaidro. For example, the language that my mom speaks, I might be the only one understand her because I work for the museum. But the other sibling that I have, that she has, they don't understand sometimes the word that came out of her mouth. And they sometimes come to me and I'm like, "Do you understand, Mom?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's my mom." So that's the meaning of this, that the older people speak almost different language than the younger generation. And in probably 5-10 years from today, most of the Marshallese that live in Enid, for example, for those who are from probably high school down to elementary, might forgot our language. So that's what it's my prediction. So, as environment change and shifting priorities, so that's Marshallese languages. Especially when you move to another country that is not where you grew up and born. And for example, Marshallese speaker today substitute English or Japanese word for Marshallese in the sentence. For example, Kojita, what are you doing? Jumbo, cruising. Jumbo is a Japanese word. They said jumbo suru, like toko ni mo sambo suru.